Hello, you have made it to module 3. You are almost done, and this is where it really gets wild. So buckle up because service support, we're going to talk in module 3 about some of those really unlikely variable things that happen very unexpectedly, kind of once in a blue moon. And it's always somehow like must be the Holy Spirit, usually right after we get trained on it. So that's pretty great. But yeah, here's the stuff that you might see once every 3, 4, 6 months. But it's definitely important to talk about because it's good to be prepared when we do see these things. So I'm going to share my screen. This is where we left off at the end of the last video. And now we're going to talk about the variables. So this is the once in a blue moon, like I said, situations where it's like when we have a homeless person walk in, unsheltered individual, homeless person, panic attacks in the parking lot, the outbursts in the service when it's more than just a baby, when it's something that is loud and sometimes aggressive, very, very fast, disruptive, usually security team jumps on it, or medical emergencies. So lots of fun to be had in this module. So first things first, the unsheltered individuals. The hot team in San Diego. Raise your hand if you know what the hot team is. And if not, that's okay. I'm about to tell you. Lots of people don't know this even exists. You can feel free as a civilian to use this in your everyday life as much as you want. But the hot team is a department of the police department or like a subsection, and they are the homeless outreach team. So if you call 911 in San Diego and say, I need to speak to the hot team, they will connect you. And it is people that come in a van like this, but they come with tons of resources for homeless individuals. They ask them if they would like to go to a shelter, they provide them with resources, and they will take them to any shelter in San Diego that is appropriate for that person. This team is trained in how to approach homeless individuals, how to speak to them. They will assess if they need medical care, everything that they need, and they are just an outreach team that comes to provide for those people and to take them to where they need to go. So one of the best tools that we have in our belt is to call the hot team, because we are never going to put a homeless person in our car with us alone or even with other people. Don't do that. That's a crossing of boundaries. But we have people we can call who will provide way better services for them than we ever can ourselves. And so that is the best tool that you have. Also, on the back of the service support badge, you have a QR code. That QR code has tons of information, more than just homeless person resources. It has like marriage resources, stuff for like abuse victims, all kinds of things. So if you ever meet somebody that's having a really extreme ministry need, you can have them pull out their cell phone, scan that QR code, and then that connects them immediately with resources for them. It's a beautiful tool. This counts for homeless people. Believe it or not, every homeless person in San Diego County is provided a smartphone. So 99% of them have a smartphone with a camera. So you can ask them to just scan the QR code and it'll pull up a map of all of the homeless shelters in San Diego. Then when it comes to, obviously, they don't all necessarily come just to be provided with resources. Some of them actually just want to attend church, and that's beautiful. Our end goal with all unsheltered individuals is for them to attend church, to receive prayer, receive ministry, be able to participate in what we provide as a church. We actually had a guy come in. It was before COVID, and actually after COVID, we never saw him again, which was very sad, but maybe he'll come back one day. But he used to come in. It was back when beautiful Alexa Beachler was the coach of the service support team. And she was pulled out of the 8:30 service to go because a homeless person had come in. He had a shopping cart outside and he said, no, I just want to come in and attend church. Is there anywhere for me to put my shopping cart? So she talked to him. She told him, hey, like, this is a church. We don't really have anything for you, but I can call the hot team or you can come in and attend and just receive the message that's being preached and the prayer and the worship? And he said, yes, I'm here for the message. And so she was like, okay. She talked to the security team. They decided on a place where he could park his shopping cart outside. He put on his blue coat, which was his church coat. He came inside and he attended. That individual came back every single Sunday. And he attended every Sunday. He parked his shopping cart in the designated area for him. He put on his blue church coat and he sat in the families with baby section next to the door. He tithed. This is back pre-COVID. So he passed around a bucket and he would put in dollars every Sunday. It was beautiful. And he just wanted to partake, And so that is the success story of a homeless individual encounter. There are other ways that they encounter us, and there are other situations, very manipulative spirits, very disruptive spirits that come in, people that come in and begin bathing in the bathroom or trying to unpack their suitcases in the response lounge, just all different kinds of things, and it's best to get ahead of it. So the answer for them is, here is what we have for you. We have a pastor who preaches a message, there's worship, and there's prayer. You are not allowed to use our bathrooms for bathing. There is no napping here. We have nowhere that you can sleep, inside or outside the building. We do not give money donations to you. We do not have clothing for you. We do not have food or beverages for free for you. You cannot use a computer or someone's cell phone. What you can have is a message, worship, prayer. And then if you don't want those things, we will call the hot team for you. Sometimes these individuals leave immediately because the hot team will search them for drugs. Other times they'll try to manipulate you, talk in circles around you. At all times, when there is an unsheltered individual, security team will be literally next to you. They are with you at all times. You always have a team of people. You are never in any place alone with them. Even if they have to go to the bathroom, you're going with them, and another female is coming with you, or male. If it's a guy, the security team is going into the bathroom with them because we've had people use drugs in our stalls before. So we're on them. We tell them what we provide, and they can either receive that or they can't. And if they can't, it gets escalated to security, and security will take it from there. But we are there to provide prayer if they want it, and invite them to attend the service in a soft and kind way. And then if they don't want that, but they want resources and they're being reasonable, we provide the resources for them. And if they're not being reasonable and they don't want what we have to provide, security will remove them. Higher level ministry needs during service. So this scenario is when we have, okay, hold on one second. I'm running out of battery. Okay, thank you for standing by. Let's bring up the PowerPoint again. Alrighty, so higher level ministry needs during service. So this is all those other random anomalies, like somebody in the family room was abusing their wife, hitting her and throwing her against the wall. This has happened during a service. So we were there to hold the wife, hold the children, provide ministry and love and care while the security team called the police and handled the gentleman. This is a grieving person who is crying loudly during the service at inappropriate moments, like jokes are being told and they're just loudly sobbing. Obviously, that's not a person that security is going to approach and ask them to leave. That would be us. We are the soft, ministry-hearted individuals who are there to say, like, you clearly have needs, but they're not necessarily being met by the message that's being preached. And also your needs are being expressed in a way that is distracting and disruptive to other people. So we're going to take you somewhere where we can talk to you and pray with you and address what's going on that is not the sanctuary. Similar situation with manifestations, which if you haven't seen many manifestations, just stand by. This is why you're in training. This is why all people before the ministry team get sent to us. But it can come out in screaming. It can come out in wild laughing. But usually, When there's a sound that is counter to the normal noises of the room, that stands out to you, that is just something that's clearly going on with that individual, that is on a different level of what's happening with everyone else, and it is loud enough to be distracting you, then it is distracting everyone, and that is the time to get involved. Same with panic attacks. They can happen anywhere in the building or in the parking lot for certain individuals. That's just a different form of a manifestation. Drug or alcohol use during service. Kind of an extreme example is a time when I was called out of the service by somebody who was on our security team, but also at that service was over kids ministry. And when I came out into the lobby, there was like a huddle of security and ushers, which is always a clue that something is really going on. And it turns out there was a couple that took a kiddo and dropped them off at kids' church and then went out into the parking lot, never even came in to attend the service. They went out into the parking lot and they were doing drugs and drinking in the parking lot. So basically they were using kids' church as free babysitting while they went out and partied at 10 a.m. to then come back at the end and pick up their kid when they were done. And the kids' church person was like, I can't release this child to these people. Like, they're gonna drive home. What's going to go on? Like, I don't feel comfortable. And so I was the lucky person that got to ask the mom to step out with me. And we had a conversation about whether or not she was in her right mind to drive home. And I let her know that we saw them and we knew what was going on. And I asked her if she would like resources. We have a recovery program and all of that. So I was there to provide resources with her, and she assured me that they were taking the bus home, that they always take the bus, that they weren't driving, and legally we could not hold the child. We are also mandatory reporters of instances of child abuse. And there is another video on our role as a mandated reporter. And so that'll be a link under this module video as well, for you to go and check out. So that's a good situation where you may be pulled in to assess that. Other things, I mean, usually the medical team is there for this as well, but like if kids' church notices that a child looks like they've been abused, thank God this has never happened before, except for that scenario where it was just like, this seems unsafe. But if kids' church notices things, we could be called into the situation. We could assist them in being a mandatory reporter. Medical team will assist them as well. This also comes up in ministry time, but that's not a disruption during the service. So this is really things that you're sitting there and the message is happening or worship is happening, and there is a loud disruption. And that's what we do. Outbursts in the service. So we've had a couple of these happen. And this is an interesting scenario. So this even includes like somebody rushing the stage, which has happened very recently, actually, to when I'm recording this. That actually happened 3 times in the last year. Large outbursts. So the first one, the one that was longest ago, actually was caught by security and removed, which is great. But it was a guy who got up and started to run up on stage. And he claimed that he was being led by the Holy Spirit to make an announcement to all of us. Security stopped him before he got to the stage. And because it was a guy, like, they handle it. We just pray protection over them, protection over the individual. We're covering it in prayer, and they took it out and they handled it. The next one that happened, as an example, a couple months ago, was a woman who, it was kind of a fail in a lot of ways for our team, just because we try to get eyes on individuals like this from the beginning. Like when people are coming into the sanctuary and we're standing in the families with babies section, we have a front row view of everyone coming in. you can get a feel of like who might be under an influence, somebody who may be homeless, who just appears like there are things going on in their life that is throwing them out of balance. And there are external things. It's not being judgmental, it's being discerning, being protective and discerning. And it is for the health and love of that individual that we would discern those things, because there are ways that we can help them and that we can intervene in those situations. But for this individual case, the person was a homeless woman, was also very heavily under the influence of substances. And she managed to, apparently multiple people saw her and noticed her and thought something was wrong, but no one approached her and asked her what her name was or introduced themselves or invited her to sit with them, which is what we can do. You don't have to walk up and be like, you look like you're high, but you can say, hi, my name is Karis. What's your name? Tell me about yourself. How did you find Awaken Church? Wow, I have an open seat next to me over in this section, and it's actually really easy to access. You won't have to use any stairs. Please come sit next to me. And then that's like, hey, and then security will come over and be like, hi, what's going on with that person? And you can be like, oh, their name is this. And yes, they're definitely high. I'm going to keep them next to me. Watch me in case I need to flag you down. Something like that. If you don't think the person is safe, that's okay too. You don't have to walk up to them if they seem like they're very unsafe. Grab security though and be like, hey, something's going on over there. Can you please get on it? Or what are you already doing? But anyway, this woman made it past multiple people that noticed her. No one approached her or said anything or did anything. She was all the way up in the back, past the sound booth, all the way up inside a row, surrounded by people. And during the service, an usher could hear her cussing out loud while Pastor Colin Higginbottom was preaching. And so he decided to approach her himself, which is also not something that's recommended. Typically, service support would be the first to approach because we can approach a little bit softer. Because it was an older woman, it could have used a little bit more of a sensitive touch. But he said, I'm sorry, ma'am, you need to stop talking so loudly or you will be asked to leave. To which she did not respond very nicely. She got up and she began cussing and dropping F-bombs at the top of her lungs and cursing the speaker. And so at that point, security got involved, grabbed her, and forcefully removed her from the sanctuary. So in that scenario, a female should always be involved. If it is a woman who is being taken out of the sanctuary, like obviously we do not put ourselves in harm's way. She's swinging at them. We're not going to be trying to like hold her down ourselves. You don't get in the way of what security is doing, because then you are also another safety risk that they have to worry about. Like just stay behind and let them handle it. But at the same time, go with them, like you're right alongside her, you're going with them. You want to show that like accountability is being held. And then also like liability wise, nobody can claim that the security guards touched her inappropriately or did anything, because a woman was standing by at all times with them. You're praying over it. You're praying protection. You're casting out disruptive spirits, and just supporting. If there's a moment of opportunity for you to pray with that person, to ask them if there are needs that you can meet, then excellent. If not, you just continue to pray for them and support the security team. The third example was the most recent one where we were in the middle. So not in the middle, we were in worship. So nobody would have had any reason to notice this person coming in. Nobody would have had any reason to think anything. And also we were all standing. It wasn't like there was a really obvious move to come to the front. But we were standing and had just finished worship, and Pastor Becky was on stage to announce the speaker. And this person rushed the stage, got up, and began making an announcement that we were all false prophets and going to hell. So security acted immediately. They were on stage and kind of like not touching or grabbing, but herding her off, which is what they do. They kind of do like a surround and move, and you're either going to fall and get trampled or move with them kind of thing, so that they're not like forcefully manhandling you, but they are. And then I was there and I went with them the whole time. So like I saw them on stage, I met them as they're coming off stage, and then they went backstage. So there was a whole portion of time in that encounter where they were backstage with this female, an all-male security team. So you can only imagine the first thing she told police was that they had touched her inappropriately. That's exactly what she said. And I said, no, they did not. I am a female and I was there the whole time. And I made sure that nobody laid hands on her. Not that they would have anyway, right? And so we went outside the side into the parking lot, and I was covering it in prayer. Like there is no reason ever to interject yourself. And security team is already worried, and their first priority is to remove the threat from all of the people that they are trying to protect. In that scenario, you are going to be the one person that they still have to protect against the threat that you're right in front of. So you're not trying to like get in there or do their job for them or interject in any way, shape, or form. You're just standing back, covering it in prayer, spiritually covering it. There was a time when she did look at security guards and she was like cursing them and telling them that they were weak men, that they didn't, and like all kinds of things. And I just came against it and told her to shut her mouth, and prayed against it. And then we covered the security guards in prayer afterwards once she was removed by the police. But yeah, you're just there to cover it and support, and honestly just to be the prayer warrior in that moment and to spiritually protect and cover the situation. And also because it's a woman from the service support team goes with them. A guy from the service support team came in that scenario too, but then he was an extra body that wasn't needed. But in those scenarios, it's always good to have a service support person. Also, sometimes people don't always respond the best to a big bulky guy in a security shirt. Especially because oftentimes these outbursts come from people that have rebellious spirits, and it manifests pretty hard to the security team. So you can be a softer voice, but it's something that requires an extreme level of discernment. And honestly, all of the things in this module, these are discernment moments. This is the kind of stuff that, like, the reason why I gave 3 very different examples is because outbursts can be a broad range of things, and it always happens so quickly, and it happens once in a blue moon. So it'll be right when you're getting comfortable and forgetting that this kind of stuff exists. And it's just a quick spur of the moment decision. You have to see the need and you have to act on it. And it's a check in with the Holy Spirit and use your instincts kind of thing. Because there's only so much training we can do for this kind of stuff. So just know that you are always supported. Whatever you decide to do in these moments, like the security team, the usher team, and service support team, we are teams. We are here to have each other's backs. There's never been a call that I've made, even just kicking someone out of the families with babies section where they go out into the lobby and they're very angry and yelling at me. Security comes up and they will have my back and they will stand by my choice. They don't ask questions because we are a team. And then afterwards, we could have moments of debriefing and discussing what could have been done differently. But when we're a united front and we're handling a situation, it's not like that. So just know you're supported. You're always on a team. There's always people around you. And this is just a moment where you have to trust your gut and go with what the Holy Spirit is telling you. And this is also why we have protocols. We can train for what we know to train for, and then everything else is just kind of a learn on the moment. But it's good. It's something that is a very important role, and we are blessed and honored to fill it. The last situation is the medical emergencies. So we don't have a massive role to play here unless you are a nurse and you are connected with the medical team or any other kind of medical personnel. Sorry, I'm a nurse, so that's just why I assume nurse, and we have a lot of nurses on the medical team. But if you're a doctor, chiropractor, CNA, whatever it is, thank you. And yeah, so if you're on the medical team, then you have a very large role to play here. If you are not on the medical team, again, just like with the outbursts and anything else where it's another team that's handling it, we are there to support, to cover it in prayer. Let's say that the medical team point person is a man. But he needs to do something that's a little more sensitive with a female patient, and it requires taking clothes off. A female from the service support team will be tagged in to go with them. We also, if it's like a massive, like a medical emergency, like somebody is down, they're doing CPR, we will help to coordinate the emergency responders. You could be the person to call 911. You could be the person to run and grab the bags and the AED from them, for them, and all of that. There is a link in this training module section that was sent to you, called the medical emergency protocol. Go ahead and like check that out, review it. But also know you're not the medical personnel. So like they'll tell you what to do. And at the end of the day, you're just one of the good Samaritans that's there as a part of the Awaken team to kind of help and support them in any way that they need. And then also, as always, minister, cover, and prayer. Pray for healing, pray for breakthrough, pray for the Holy Spirit to come, pray for guidance of the hands of the medical team member, pray for guidance of the medics that are arriving to take it over. Just pray it up. And that's our job. That's a good one. All right. And last but not least, you have completed the training. So this is the end of module 3. Go ahead and find the Google form for module 3 and fill it out and put in any questions you have. I encourage you for this Sunday with your service lead, ask them to show you where the medical bags are and where the AED is in case of any scenario that requires that. And then also identify your security team. For your service, there's a security team lead. There is spots where the security team sits at all times during the service. There is an usher lead. It's good to know who these people are, to know how to identify them, to know to check out and just pay attention to where they are during the service in case anything happens. Also, sorry, I know this is like a random side note to be adding on to this slide, but there are 2 security teams at Awaken Church. This is important. There's the security volunteer team. Those are the people that sit inside the service and they have the black shirts that say security on them. And then there is Jericho. Jericho is a paid security service. They are armed individuals and they usually sit in the lobby. They don't sit, they stand in the lobby or they're outside in the parking lot and they look like cops. Like they have the full uniform, they are armed, their guns are showing. So those are 2 different teams. The communication between those teams is not always the most on point. And so just know that, like, let's say something happens and you tell John, the Jericho guy, that you handled it doing XYZ. That might not always get communicated up the chain on the Awaken security team side. So just know that there's a different dynamic between those 2 teams. And then there's also a different amount of things that they can do legally in handling a security threat. So yeah, maybe ask them to explain it to you this Sunday, but we're getting a little complicated. So yeah, welcome to the end of the module 3 training. Officially, I'll stop talking now and go ahead and go in and fill out the Google form for this section, and welcome to the team. All righty, let's see if I can stop the share. There we go. All right, thanks guys.